Is it okay to buy reissues? Welcome guys to Rebel Rock. I am Dan. This is our weekly hangout where we talk rock and roll. We go through some new vinyl pickups. And this week we have a fun one. We have a fun episode for you because we're going to be talking about reissued albums, right? How do you guys feel about this? For me personally, I've always been like, if I can get my hands on it, I'm okay with it, right? It doesn't have to be an original 1977 pressing, though that would be cool to have. As long as you have the music and you have the packaging to look at and read, I feel like that's okay. That's fine. And I know some of you guys out there are purists and you're like, no, it needs to be of the time period. And yeah, in a perfect world, that would be ideal, but it's not always. And I got three albums that are all reissues. That, I mean, I'm sure I could find the original pressings, but probably for 3 or 4 times the amount that I spent on these today. The first one I snagged up, and some of these reissues are really cool because they come with books, right? They come with bonus material, live demos, other different stuff. The first one I got is the first debut album from the Circle Jerks. The album's called Group Sex. Now we know this is California punk rock, 1981. This album I think is 15 minutes long, so it's not very long, but damn is it essential. The best part about this is the 40th anniversary limited deluxe edition of this, right? It's remastered, alright, so that's something kind of cool. Unless they did a shitty remastering. I listened to it, sounds great, so I have no problems with that. And it comes also with a 20-page booklet that has little snippets from different artists of that time period, people that were there in the scene talking about them. So I think that right there, I'm okay with a reissue, right? Nothing wrong with that. So, I think this is an essential album to have in your collection as well. Especially if you like that early hardcore punk sound of California, like this is right up there. The second one we snagged up is the debut from the Gun Club, Fire of Love. And I'll be honest, once again, this is a reissue, but what is cool about this, it comes with a second LP that is live from Club 88 back in 81. So right there, you know, that's a nice, cool little thing that you wouldn't have had with the original pressing, right? So just, look at that. Beautiful art on that. And the crazy part about this is another band that was part of that early punk 80, 81 in California. The lead singer of this band was actually roommates with the lead singer of the Circle Jerks. So what are the chances of that, you know? Got a little connection there. And obviously the bands used to play together. These guys would open up for bands like X and the Bags and stuff like that. So it was a healthy scene out in California. I was late to the club. No pun intended. The Gun Club, I was late to them. I tried early on to get into their stuff. Didn't really click with me until like last year pretty much. I started spinning it on Spotify and I'm like, there's something going on here. And it finally clicks. There's no better feeling than when you listen to an artist and it finally makes sense. With the Gun Club, some of you, I'm sure most of you guys are aware of these guys. If you're not aware, think of psychobilly, punk rock, blues, very trashy, smart lyrics, one hell of a band. So, the Gun Club, first album. Look at that, we got 2 first albums there. And the last one is one that was released in '94, and I wish this was an original pressing, because this album probably is the most important album in the history of albums to me. As far as music goes, this changed everything. And we're talking Green Day's Dookie from '94. I would have been a freshman in high school when this album came out. And at that point in my musical journey, I was obsessed with bands like Motley Crue, Metallica. I had just gone through a cycle of hip-hop music that I loved. Everyone from Ice-T to Ice Cube, NWA, Ghetto Boys, Public Enemy. So I was coming out of that, and to find this band, it just clicked. It clicked immediately, and I was like, what is this? Because growing up in New Hampshire, I wasn't exposed to punk rock. I had no clue what it was. Closest thing I had would have been, I don't even think I would have had any. It was all, a lot of the glam hair bands from the 80s would have been the closest thing. So hearing these guys, it was right around the time that I got my first guitar. And I could play along to this album, which I did. I did many a times. Thousands of times, actually, how I learned how to play guitar. So to have this on vinyl is fantastic. Original pressing would be even more special, but for $20 to have a reissue, I was just spinning it today, and like the memories just flooded back. What happened is, after I got this album, I learned how to play guitar. I learned they were on a record label called Lookout Records. Dove into that catalog, found about bands like Mr. T Experience, The Queers, Pansy Division. And then from there, you look at the liner notes, and they thanked Rancid. So Rancid was the next band that I got into. And then I got into Epitaph Records, and it just kept spiraling and spiraling. So Green Day was the beginning of that, and I'm always grateful for that. Yeah, the most important album of my life. Easily. Let's go to the Collector's Corner, alright guys? Welcome to the Collector's Corner, guys. This week, we got a little mail call. I found a cool little figure on eBay. I had to snag it up. Anytime you can find something that's connected to multiple things that you're passionate about. I love all sorts of media. I collect box sets, old cartoons, Hanna-Barbera stuff. So this was a natural thing to snag up. I found a Hanna-Barbera Tom and Jerry action figure that was rock and roll. So we're going to go to the turntable right now. We're going to take a look at this figure I just got in the mail. It's a nice little tie-in. It's going to display really well on the shelf. But guys, why don't we hit the shag? Welcome to the end of the episode, guys. We're here on the shag. That's where we wrap up each and every week. I have a couple recommended listenings, and I want you to check this out. First one is from an artist named Jack Green. I found this on Discogs randomly. The name of the album is Humanesque. And what we have pretty much here is 1980, kind of in the same vein as like I guess Romantics or who else could you throw in here? A lot of the power pop stuff. Rick Springfield would have been in this mix. But the cool thing about Jack Green was he played in T-Rex's band back in the 70s. So there's a little bit of history there with Jack. So I had to check it out. It's a fun album. It really is. It's a solid album for the early 80s kind of power pop rock stuff that was going on. There's a ton of bands like this, but his stuff sets out a little bit more from the others. A little bit slower, a little more rockin'. So check it out. Jack Green, I'd never heard of him. I bought it on a whim. The next one up, guys, is a gift that I got from my buddy Nick, and he hooked it up. He hooked it up with this band. I feel bad. They're from Boston. Had never heard about them before. We got Barrence Whitfield and the Savages. Look at that cover, guys. I had no idea what to expect when I popped this on the turntable, but holy shit. When did this come out? Mid-80s, I do believe. Maybe 84. And what does this sound like? This is like Little Richard style rock and roll right here. This is that late 50s Jerry Lee Lewis. Really aggressive. We got a saxophone. It's blazing. It tears. It's kind of like that neo garage, blues rock, really up tempo, really dirty, really trashy. I love it. I love it so much, and I feel bad for missing out on this artist for all these years. So yeah, from 1984, if it's something that sounds like it's up your alley, it probably is. So that's going to wrap up this week's episode of Rebel Rock. Thanks so much for hanging out. It's fun to go through some reissues that I've just picked up. Hanna-Barbera figure. Come on, Tom and Jerry. You'd snag that up too, I bet. Maybe not. And we got a couple recommended listenings. Till next time, guys. Do what you do and toodaloo.